final has been decided.
It's not just a race win, it's a series win. Paul Dumbrell and Eccleston Motorsport conquer the mountain.
Now with 1 round to go, there's pride on the line and second place up for grabs.
Just got sideways. And there's a touch.
Left front's busted.
Gets the job done back-to-back at Barbagallo. They're both off the road. He unloads him.
But the final destination of the season is on a track as daunting as anything they've faced all year. This is the 7th and final round of the Dunlop Series.
Hi everyone and welcome to the streets of Sydney Olympic Park. It's the final round today in the Dunlop Series for V8 Supercars. Now the crown has been decided. Paul Dumbrell is already the champion before the 2 races this weekend. But it's the fight for second place in the points that is really raging. 119 points between 4 drivers. Chris Pither, Andre Heimgartner, Ash Walsh and Cam Waters. There's 300 on the line this weekend. Anything can happen, but with the concrete jungle here at Sydney Olympic Park, it is set to be an epic season decider.
Ash Walsh may have missed out on securing the Dunlop Series title after crashing out at Bathurst, but securing a V8 Supercars drive with Erebus Motorsport next year has softened the blow.
We've been trying for a long time, so I'm absolutely stoked to get the opportunity to go into the main series. Obviously, we've been working towards this for heaps of years and what feels like my entire life. So it's going to be sad to not be back in this car again, but you know, I feel like I'm ready for the opportunity and I can't wait. Still got my mind on the DVS for the weekend, and then after that I can concentrate on next year.
Cameron Waters is in the battle pack aiming for runner-up in the championship. He's shown plenty of pace and aggression this year and has nothing to lose in this final outing.
My year's been okay. I think I've made a few mistakes personally and had a few other little bit of like bad luck and stuff throughout the year. So I think if I can come second, it's actually pretty good. So showed plenty of pace, car's been quick, I've been driving well. So yeah, see how we go.
Chris Pither has worked his way up to 4th in the championship. After finishing on the podium at Bathurst, he's in form and must be considered a threat in the season finale.
I've been pretty grateful with the way the team, I guess, have grown over the course of the year. The ice brake holdings definitely come on, and we had a solid run at Bathurst. Hopefully we can do the same here.
Andre Heimgartner is currently back in 5th in the championship and has some work to do if he is to spring a championship podium surprise. Regardless of the results, the Dunlop Series has already delivered him a V8 Supercars drive with Super Black Racing next year.
My whole life I sort of dreamed of being in the Supercars, and the Dunlop Series has been a big help to get there. So, you know, all of these drivers here all aiming to where I'm going to be next year. So for me to step up, I think everyone's a little bit jealous.
While Heimgartner and others are plotting their futures in V8 Supercars, the man who's already wrapped up the title, Paul Dumbrell, is yet to commit to next year, but says the series was the perfect preparation for his endurance campaign with Jamie Whincup.
You know, I compare myself in 2014 to 2013 and it was remarkably different. I don't think I was driving any quicker, but certainly my comfort levels and the amount of mistakes I made were certainly reduced having the 6 or 7 races that we've done in the Dunlop Series this year. So I think there's been a big tick from that point of view, and also, you know, to come here and win any championship, you know, it's a real privilege and something that you don't take for granted because hey, we're retired for a long time and we'll look back at these couple of years and look at them very fondly.
While the focus of this weekend is completing the championship for the series regulars, there's also some new faces, including Porsche Carrera Cup Bathurst winner Shay Davies, who joins the series full-time next year, and the youngest driver to take to the grid in Dunlop Series history, 16-year-old Kurt Kostecki.
So to the points, and as we know, yes, Paul Dumbrell has wrapped up the title, but Ash Walsh has a serious fight on his hands for second this weekend. Cameron Waters has been closing in after a great race at Bathurst. Don't write off Chris Pither to maybe, just maybe, sneak his way onto the podium. Over to the Armour All Pole Position Award, and Paul Dumbrell looking to finish the year with an exclamation mark, taking pole position for the first race of the weekend. PD really getting a great lap together, claiming the cash thanks to Armour All, and will be off the front row for the final round of the season. Time to get it on the streets of Sydney. This is the final round of the Dunlop Series. Yes, PD's the champ, and who's going to grab second? We'll find out after the break.
Yeah, we're loving the summer of sport on 7. So much more to come too. But for now, the first Dunlop Series race is just about ready to go. So here's Greg Murphy and Aaron Noonan.
Thanks, Barrett. And the story here, Greg, is kind of the same as the main game. The champ has been determined. Paul Dumbrell wrapped it up at Bathurst, but it's the fight for second that's the real focus this weekend as we have a look at the grid.
Yes, mate, that's absolutely right. We've got a huge battle still going on with a lot of points up for grabs. There's Taz Douglas coming out of grid 11 with Paul Morris beside him. But Paul Dumbrell has wrapped it up. Ashley Walsh on 12.32. Cam Waters 11.51. So those guys don't have much of a gap between them. And again, as we've seen all season, they are very close when it comes to the start of this race.
Final round of the year, Paul Dumbrell versus Cam Waters on the front row of the grid. Ash Walsh and Andre Heimgartner on the next row. Aaron Russell, best qualifying of his career. He starts from 6. Lights are out, away we go for race 1. But Ash Walsh has gone nowhere.
Is he going to get missed? That was so close in the background.
Josh Keane.
Comes
bouncing
across with a broken steering.
That's Brett Hobson who's been put on the fence now. I think that was all triggered. The car that was slow was Kurt Kostecki, the debutant in that white Falcon, and they've all tripped over one another, and Brett Hobson's done.
He is very much done, and Ash Walsh too, slow to get away. Very lucky to avoid any other contact for him. Paul Dumbrell though, clambering over the curbs down at turn 2-3. Cam Waters in close hot pursuit. And got away very clean off the pole, did Paul Dumbrell.
And Murph, that's Aaron Russell third. He's made a great jump, managed to pick his way through. Then Pither, then Heimgartner, Andrew Jones, Taz Douglas back in the series this weekend. And look at this, Dumbrell has to play defensive. Cam Waters
is going to put his nose. No, he just backs out of it. Very slippery and dirty down the inside. He does the right thing. Looking racy right at the start. He knows he's going to have to do something pretty early. Paul Dumbrell, when he gets into his rhythm, as we've seen, he just goes away. So the NZ Falcon putting a lot of pressure on the back of the champion right now.
And Russell going with them in that plus fitness Ford. Pither next. But this is really good stuff. Cam Waters, remember, he's had a fast year at times, but he's made some mistakes along the way. That's a real shame for Brett Hobson's team with that damage, but no safety car. We're still green here at Sydney Olympic Park. So lap 1 down, and it's Dumbrell. He's just been able to squeeze away on that margin from Cam Waters, then Russell, then Pither, Heimgartner, Jones, Douglas, Ant Pedersen, Paul Morris in 9th, Jeff Emery in 10th, and they actually had to change an engine in that car, the Jeff Emery car, before they even started practice. They cranked it up on Thursday here. They had an error, they had a drama, and they had to change it. Let's have a look again at the replay at the start.
Ash Walsh doesn't even move. Gets a shocking getaway there. Whoa, in the background as we see, and then Keane comes across after going up on 2 wheels. Poor old Hobson. Look at the damage to the 44.
And that's one of the ex-Gary Rogers team cars run by the R-Sport team. There is Walsh, you could just see there.
Moving.
Yeah.
He was slipping away, either a clutch problem there or something, or his line lock didn't work, I'm not sure, but he was moving, had to get on the brakes, and when he did that, as it always happens, the lights go out, but he was across the line, I reckon, of his start box there anyway at that point. So he still may get a penalty to add to that awful start.
And he's 14th on the road at the moment, Greg. And in the background, Kostecki was moving to avoid the slow starting. And there, nasty stuff. Josh Keane was involved. He's managed to limp back to the lane. That's one of the ex-Holden Racing Team Commodores based in South Australia at the moment, but plenty of drama. This Sydney Olympic Park circuit really bites. Dumbrell, exactly as you said, Murph, starting to stretch the margin here on Cam Waters, who is fending off Aaron Russell, who, remember, had a podium finish at Queensland Raceway. He's first of his Dunlop Series career. This is a small family team from Newcastle. They work really, really hard. Ex-Stephen Johnson, Jim Beam Falcon. And they're going at it with Ford Performance Racing, Eggleston Motorsport, who have a really strong tie to 888, Brad Jones Racing with Chris Pither. They're fighting with guys who've probably got bigger budgets and more experience and a bit more of everything.
Oh, no question. And Aaron Russell spent a couple of days over in New Zealand last week getting a bit of extra mileage with Andre Heimgartner and his Super Tourer. So maybe that's part of the key. Obviously, these guys, 7 rounds, don't get to do a huge amount of racing in these cars. And miles do add so much value to the limited amount of time they do spend. So hopefully that's worked in his favour, as it looks at the moment, still holding a pretty small gap as Waters jumps the curb, takes way too much curb there.
And he did this at turn 2 earlier.
Yeah, look at as he takes the right-hand side of the car even over the curb. Now, the curbs around here at Sydney, as it's been discussed, very violent.
Cam Waters, another of the Aussie drivers to Race last weekend in New Zealand at Pukekohe with the NZ Super Tours. Chris Pither there in the background. Then is Andre Heimgartner. So there's Kiwis here, there and everywhere. There's Taz Douglas, Ant Pedersen, Paul Morris, who took his dad for a ride yesterday. Marcus Zakanovic here having his last start in the Dunlop Series. He's going to step out at the end of the year. The ex-FPR Falcon is for sale and on the market, so he's going to take a step back and concentrate on the family business. Here's Ash Walsh trying to recover that ground after that slow start. He's 12th. This is his last weekend in the Dunlop Series because it's been announced he's getting a go in the main game next year. He will replace Lee Holdsworth in the number 4 Erebus Mercedes-Benz, so he's got his big chance. It's race 1 of the weekend for the final round of the Dunlop Series. Come back to Sydney in just a moment. Plenty going on here at Sydney Olympic Park. Let's get back to the Dunlop Series. Ash Walsh in the wall at the exit of turn 1. He's been slowly but surely picking his way back through the order after that slow start. He's 11th on the road.
We'll have to see if that's actually done any real damage to the infant's friend Falcon. A little bit of damage on the back there. Just got past Macaulay Jones, who's doing an awesome job there. Never driven one of these cars at Homebush before and qualified really, really well. Ash Walsh trying to make his way back through the field. If you missed it, had a shocking start, had a bit of a creep just before the lights went out, came to a stop, got going again, but has lost that advantage big time and trying to make up for it now as Cam Waters is in that second position and he is fighting with him for an overall second in the championship. Bit of a replay, runs wide, quite a flat side-on hit there with the wall, so maybe he's okay.
This is Kurt Kostecki, who has stopped one of Matty White's ex-FPR forwards, the young 16-year-old.
16.
Makes me even feel old.
What were you doing when you were 16, mate? Weren't driving V8 Supercars.
No, it's definitely a good story to tell at school, but it's got a bit of a drama. Walsh here picking off Jeff Emery, so that gets him back into the top 10. Of course, no reverse grid race. They do another qualifying session, in fact, tomorrow before the second race. Something this year that we've seen with multiple qualifying sessions, which has jumbled the grid, so you do have a chance to bounce back. You don't get stuck where you finished the previous race. And we're going to see next year, since we actually last did the Dunlop Series at Bathurst.
Macaulay Jones down the inside. Yep. Emery gives him some room. That's a good move. Very strong move by the young man from Albury.
I was just going to say before, Murph, reverse grid races are gone next year in the Dunlop Series. A few people quite happy about that, just quietly being tripped over by it in previous years.
Well, it really is becoming even a stronger training ground for these guys that are looking to try and make that jump. You know, the likes of Ash Walsh and a few others really starting to feel what it's like to go through the process of what it is when you're part of the main game series. Doing these 2 qualifyings, these longer races, as the safety car boards are showing.
So that will bring Paul Dumbrell back to the pack, back to Cam Waters, back to Aaron Russell, and this is the reason why Kurt Kostecki's Falcon has stopped on the pit straight on Australia Avenue. He'll need some help. We're back to racing, this time across the line. Green flag flies, and Paul Dumbrell leads us to turn 1, but Cam Waters is going to have a big look. Not quite, didn't get it done, so that leaves him vulnerable to Aaron Russell on this run down to the turn 2, 3, 4 chicane. He's managed to survive. Russell locks up.
Has a bit of a lock up. He's still pushing on really hard. Chris Pither, Andre Heimgartner having a good fight behind. Waters had he really had a look up the inside. Dumbrell was very late on the brakes. The NZ Falcon would have been right on the limit there as he tried to put that little bit of extra pressure on the race leader, who's now just broken that gap out to probably half a second. He's in commanding form at the moment as Paul Dumbrell, and our champion.
And isn't it funny? Remember in Perth, he missed a race because he had business commitments in Melbourne that were locked in before this deal was done with.
Here's Walsh.
The Eggleston team. This is on without Pedersen, but Pedersen's on the right side for the next one, so he has to go back to the drawing board, Ash Walsh. Remember, he's in the main game next year. Signed, deal done. He will join Will Davison at Erebus and replace Lee Holdsworth. So after a couple of years of grafting away in the Dunlop Series, he was the runner-up last year. He's done some good work for Dick Johnson's team in the Enduros. He's got his chance.
There's Ash Walsh. Searches down the inside. He's pretty late. He's lost just the reason.
He's fenced him.
In the fence, you can just see the attitude of the infant's friend Ford.
And that's a weird one, isn't it? You know, around
It's
this
tough.
place, where you're trying to brake the car, it's actually coming up and down. So when you make a tiny little error, it gets worse and worse and worse. And someone else usually ends up wearing part of that drama, and it was Ant Pedersen that time.
It was. He's got a little bit of desperation going on here. You can see it skipping over the top of the surface. And Pedersen ends up in the fence. That'll be an interesting one to see how that is dealt with upstairs. Ash Walsh exiting the pits after the drive-through that he was given for the move on Ant Pedersen that didn't go to plan. He got down the inside of Pedersen and his Eggleston Motorsport Commodore, but didn't get it done clean enough. Oh,
Kostecki off again.
Just recovering again from a little escape up the road. And Ash Walsh given the drive-through for that incident. There's a flat tyre.
Yeah, right front.
On the right front here, or a failure on the suspension or something. But that will be... He's had an interesting first race
young
debut.
16 years and 5 months of age. He's undercut Scott McLaughlin as the youngest ever V8 driver. James Golding goes around. Somehow doesn't take Brett Stewart with him in the Dragon Commodore.
That's a long way around there too.
Dan Day managed to make it through. And that is Dan Day, who in fact has just gone down a lap to... In fact, no, so that's Gary Jacobson in front in the 54 car, another of the Eggleston Motorsport cars.
There's too many Eggleston Motorsport Commodores out there. They're all the same. Could they please next year paint them different colours?
Now, I've pleaded with Rachel Wagon, Ben Eggleston. They're not going to do it. They're keeping the colours, so we're just going to have to get on by for the rest of the weekend. But it's Paul Dumbrell who leads the way for their team. He's out in front. More Dunlop Series racing from Sydney in the set. Welcome back to Sydney Olympic Park as Aaron Russell here flaming out on the run up to that's the turn 2 chicane on the slow-mo. So he's having a really good run. He's third, made a great jump at the beginning of the race and has been able to hang on to that spot in the Plus Fitness Sport ever since.
He's dropped back a bit in the last few laps. Cam Waters has got a bit of an advantage over him now, so it's a third place by himself. Pivot and Heimgarden are still fighting pretty hard for that fourth spot, but great job by Aaron.
Yeah. This car's like, ooh, hello, hang on a minute.
We've seen this before.
He's parked. I was going to wait and see which of the Eggleston cars it was, because from the back, could not tell the difference. It's Gary Jacobson who's been able to get himself out of that drama. So at least they've been able to remove both those Commodores and get rolling again. Let's have a look at how they did it. Gary Jacobson's going to try to put a move here, I reckon. I know where this is going. It's going to the wall, both of them. Whoops.
Not the first time we've seen that one either.
I've seen that one as well.
He's gone in pretty deep, Gary, trying to make up for lost ground. And he's given the room too, as Brett Stewart. He's done nothing wrong there.
And you're out in the grey there too, Greg, aren't you? Because there's just no grip.
Big time in the grey. But at that point, there's potential there that Stewart was still going to make that corner, but he had no chance when Jacobson was driving straight ahead, blocking him from turning. So those two will regroup. Here we go.
Here's another replay. Aaron McGill.
Oh, McGill taking every single bit and more.
Jim Policina made it through, just. James Goldie made it through.
A bit of confusion now, which way to go. Here we go. Back to the front, though. Pedersen.
This is Todd Hazelwood, who started rear of grid in the 35 Ford, going by Marcus Academy. Green and white car, Shea Davies, Porsche Carrera Cup driver, won the round at Bathurst this year and having his debut in what was the Gulf Western car that Michael Hector's been driving, the old Scott McLaughlin title winner from 2012. So this is, for Shea Davies, this is his first taste. He has raced V8s before in the V8 touring cars, which is where the old Dunlop Series cars end up. But he said, oh, mate, chalk and cheese.
Yeah, no
Nothing
difference.
that I did there has really helped me here. This is a whole new ball game. He's got Ash Walsh helping him out. He's a teammate for the weekend. And, of course, Todd Hazelwood is part of Matt Stone Racing as well. So he's got some good young guys to work hand in hand with. And at the moment, he sits in position 11, which is really, that's a good result. Just needs to bring it home and not have any dramas and have a good, solid debut. Paul Dumbrell's flying high, though. He leads the way. We're closing in on the finish of race 1 in the final round of the Dunlop Series for V8s.
Shea Davies looking at in the mirrors, I think that time missed the apex and has given that spot to Ant Pedersen. He tries to cover this time. Oh,
Todd
very
Hazelwood.
narrow. Hazelwood looks down. Is he going to get it done? Looks the rears very late. Pretty messy.
Nearly got Pedersen on the way through as well.
He did. But Shay Davies, this is his debut in the Dunlop Series, as you've been saying, Aaron, and he's been doing a bit of racing as well, trying to get those more miles over in New Zealand, spending some time in a V8 in the Super Tourer. Very different to what he's driving today, though. He's been doing all the Carrera Cup this year and had some pretty good results, and he wants to make that step. He wants to step up to the Dunlop Series, and his dream, like many of these guys, is to somehow, some way, and someday get into the main game.
PLP, pit lane penalty for Gary Jacobson, so that's 2 out of 3 for Eaglestown Motorsport that they've had. That's for that contact with Brett Stewart that set them both off into the tyre wall.
Hazelwood looking down the inside of Pedersen. He's going to get this done. It's a great move by the young guy. Just giving him a wrap, Aaron, and rightly so.
Just ignore the damage, though.
Mate, I don't think there's many cars out there other than Paul Dumbrell that doesn't have any scratches on it.
It's a good time to be in the business of spare mirrors and panels when we come to these street tracks. We'll be back here next year in terms of the Dunlop Series, because the 7 rounds that we've been to this year will be the rounds next year. Same venues, no change in terms of the way that it will unfold. Hazelwood was really keen to get on the throttle there because he knew Pedersen had a run, so he's trying to cover it off for this long run down towards the chicane at turn 2.
He needs to be careful that he doesn't get himself in a bad position for the braking. Oh, I'm glad I'm not a shock absorber around here. I'm glad I'm not a shock absorber. They are absolutely getting pounded. He managed to hold off. The lights are blaring. Eaglestown Motorsport car, the Kiwi Ant Pedersen, putting a massive amount of pressure. He'll be pretty disappointed as he runs really close up against the wall again. And he gets it.
He's in the wall that time.
Goes in too deep. Makes a mistake. Turn 8 has claimed another one. And how much damage does he have?
Time will tell, but never good. Penultimate lap here at Sydney Olympic Park. And that is now Gary Jacobson just stepping aside.
Has done some damage. Aaron too, he's limping here. Shay Davies has managed to get past and grab that position, but here we go. Oh, he locked it up just a little bit and collects the tyres. The conveyor belting, wrapping those tyres is not soft at all. And he's done a reasonable amount of damage. I think he's got a puncture there on the right front with only a lap to go too. So a real shame for the young guy.
So this is back to the fight for 3rd place, Greg. This is Aaron Russell in the Plus Fitness
Under a bit of pressure now.
Chris Pither's starting to close in.
And he's trying hard too. Through turn 6 and 7, that chicane through there, you have to be pinpoint accurate every single time. And he's pushing it. There's bits of bodywork flying off all these cars.
Chris Pither, his name is still being linked to, what is he up to next year? I know he's desperately love to get into the main V8 Supercar Championship. There's still a few seats on the go. His name's been linked to a few. He's got a very strong, long-time backer in Ice Break Coffee. So let's wait and see where he lands for next season. But he's keeping the pressure on here, and finally it's all let go for Todd Hazelwood. Right front's popped.
Well, we were giving him a wrap. You gave him a wrap. He did a great move past Ant Pedersen. And now it's all come unstuck. Does he keep it off the wall? That wall has seen some action today.
I've got a funny feeling it will again tomorrow as well. It claims cars. He's trying to get out of the way here of the rest of them, but that is one right front Dunlop that is toast, and he's just going to have to limp it around. The leader is on his final lap now, Paul Dumbrell. So for Todd Hazelwood,
if I was his team, I'd be telling him to slow right down, wait for that leader to come past.
That's definitely his because it's marked with his racing number, so he can't claim that that's not mine.
Yeah, the right front brake cooling duct sitting there on the track.
This guy, though, he's been really going for it this year, Paul Dumbrell.
I think he's got his lights on because of the darkness out there at Sydney Motorsport.
The cameras actually probably make it look a little bit better than it is just looking out the window. It's starting to get a little bit dark here at Olympic Park.
Half a lap to go, and he's very comfortable. There's Cam Waters second, 4.8 seconds behind. He's closed the gap, but I think that's probably because Paul Dumbrell's just backed it off a little bit. Plenty of action going on there, avoiding the traffic who are on 3 wheels, 4 wheels.
But he's going to bring it home, and he's controlled this one. Yep, pole position. 2 wheels just to really rub it in. So this will be 4 race wins in a row for Paul Dumbrell. Hasn't been done for about 5 years in the Dunlop Series. So the champ has delivered again. He takes another win, Paul Dumbrell. He controlled that one really well. Cam Waters home in second. That's good for him in the fight for the runner-up position in the series. Aaron Russell, he's going to get home just because Chris Pither has come on strong in the last couple of laps, but the Ford gets to the line.
Great drive by Aaron. Congratulations to him for that.
So let's recap the results. Dumbrell, the winner from Waters, Russell, Pither, Heimgartner, Andrew Jones in 6th. Taz Douglas back for the weekend. The Bathurst runner-up in 7th from the Bathurst winner, Paul Morris. Macaulay Jones, great job. The Rockstar Commodore P9 and Jeff Emery rounded out the top 10.
PD, I guess that's why you've wrapped up the championship, another sterling effort.
No, car was really, really good there. So safety car, intermission there in the middle. I thought Cam had really good pace there after a few laps, but thankfully enough, he had a little bit better tyre life, so he got away and came home number 1 again.
Well, Cameron, valuable championship points for you for that runner-up position.
Yeah, I think I'm 9 points behind Ash now, so it was good to come second. Just didn't have the pace to run with PD, so we'll tune it up overnight and see how we go tomorrow.
Well, Ash, when you have those tough races and they don't start well, sometimes they just don't end well. What happened, mate?
Yeah, I had a clutch fail at the start, so obviously it made for a pretty tough race, and I was just being super aggressive and trying to make up as many positions as I can, and unfortunately collected Ant Pedersen, I think, on the way through when I was passing into the train station chicane. So yeah, sorry to Ant, not very good, but yeah, it's the way that it is.
Stay with us after the break. The final race of the 2014 Dunlop Series here on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park.